Today's episode was made possible through the continuing support of my good friend Avitech and all of you awesome people on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the show and making this happen. If you're interested in learning more or finding more information about how to build these robots, check out the links below in the description. Thank you. Hi there guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm Chris Boden, and today we're doing Project Archi, where we're going to extend the J3 encoder cable. So you're going to need a few things for this. You're going to need, so if you do it in my way, this is how you do it. Some of these are different if you follow the book. If you follow the manual, it's going to tell you to solder stuff. I'm doing this trying to avoid soldering where I can, and I like my little ferrule crimpers because way back when we started this video, which was like 1904, I didn't know how to solder yet. I've learned how since then. I actually don't suck at it anymore, but that's, and if you've been following the Kits with Chris series, you know all about that. But for this, we're going with the ferrule system. So you're gonna need some heat shrink. You're gonna need your ferrule connectors, your ferrule crimpers. Now, you can do this with a razor blade and carefully manually stripping. That sucks, and you don't want to watch me screw around doing that for like 3 hours. So I'm going to recommend a good pair of this style of stripper. Klein makes an excellent pair. You can find them in my Amazon store. And this, if you don't own a pair of these, buy a pair of these. Oh my God, they're the greatest things ever. These are cool. These are cool. These will change your life. If you're a nerd who works with wires a lot. Oh my God, they're the greatest. These and Wagos are the two greatest things that happened to electricity in the 21st century. So that's my Nipex strippers. And if you have any doubt as why you want to use these as opposed to razor blades, you try this with razor blades. You'll buy a pair of these. So, and you'll need your cable. This is the Strive Day cable. That's the label on it. It comes in a box that looks like this. It's the little 5-meter length of 26 gauge 4-conductor gray cable. Now the colors on this won't line up exactly to what we're doing on there, but red is red, black is black, white is white. Brown connects to yellow, and we don't even use the green. So red, black, white are all the same. Brown connects to the yellow wire, and green you can just disregard. We don't, so it's not easy being green. All right, so let's dig in and rock this out. The first thing you're gonna need to do is cut off 22 inches of this. I'm gonna cut off 23 because I know I'm gonna have to strip an inch on the end, and I can always trim it off later, but man, it's a pain to stretch. So let's get 22 inches of this. So, 22 official inches, mine's actually 23, but by the book, it's 22 inches or 56 centimeters. So now, you gotta strip an inch off. Now, you can do that with a razor blade and being careful and all that, but while you're hunting to find your razor blade, I'm just gonna drop this right in here. Now there's a whole bunch of different wires in there right now, and we gotta be careful to take off the outer jacket without taking off the inner jackets, right? So watch how this works. These grab on either side, and then one side has like one gripper, it's kind of sharp, and the other side has like half a dozen of them, and it just pulls them apart and just boop. And that's what I'm left with, and I can pull that right off of there. And that's what I got. Not only did I not damage any of my internal conductors, I didn't nick anything, I didn't mess with any jackets, and I still have all the shielding is still there. It just works. It's just better. This is, we've come so much farther ahead. So separate these out because you want to get rid of all your ground wire. You want to get that all pulled back. So we're not going to need the shielding. So what I'm going to do with the shielding is twist it all off like this, right up at the head. And you really want to make sure that you don't have any loose strands. Okay, go through this and make sure you don't have any loose strands of shielding. And then twist this off really tight down here at the base, and then we can just cut it off. But you want to You can have any shielding wires hanging out down here within the bottom 1/4 inch and you're okay, but you don't want any more than that. All right, so in our last episode, we had installed this cable on here. Something of note, way back in episode 6, we cut all of these cables in half. I bought extras, so I have some that are still full length, but to end up at the right length, you're gonna wanna make sure if you have a full length cable on there, just bend it right in half, take it all the way down, and then cut it there. And it may seem kind of silly to cut this cable only to extend it, but we're going to extend it by way more than we cut off. And it's designed so that they all come out to the right length, which is why we're cutting things to specific lengths. So you don't want to end up with it being like 8 inches too long. So we've got that, and then we're just going to strip this down. And now I'm going to show you some of the love and light of the wonderful Knipex strippers as we prepare this end. You just set that right in there. It's done. It's that easy. That's why I love these. And then we're going to twist this down super tight. And then you can just zip right through the other 4. This is why I like these, because you can just drop it right in. I'll try and get you guys a shot of all these. Look at how that works. Oh, it's kind of weird to do this at an awkward angle. But I'm trying to get you a shot because it's neat to see how these work. There's a whole series of operations happening in there. You just pull those right off, and give them a twist. Now these are really fine gauge cables, and so are these, and we're gonna prepare all these too. These are just hair thin. These are 26 gauge. So you got to be kind of careful with them. Now the rest of this, like, this is the same thing we did a couple episodes ago. It's all exactly the same. We're gonna get our little ends on there. Now I think for here we're using the white ones, but I'm gonna cut one and test it. It's gonna either be white or yellow probably. Let's see if we can do it with the white ones. Start with red. Now this is going to be a little tricky, depending on how I do it. I can run that all the way down through there. Yeah, can I go the other way though? Okay, so because I want to crimp this and I got to pass it through my crimpers, I'm going to have to take a minute and pop these out of here. So this will not apply if you're soldering these, but I'm doing it the hard way on purpose. So if you look at your plug like that, that's with the clip up, and it's brown, red, white, green, black. If I flip it over with the keys up, it's black, green, white, red, brown. That's an important thing to remember, so I'm going to take and make a note before I take any of these out, because I have played this kind of game before. Oh, I don't need to make a note because I have the other end of the cable, and each end of the cable is the same. They're not mirror images, they're exact duplicates. So I can just keep that end of cable right there, and I know how to duplicate this when I take it apart, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those little windows in there to take this cable apart, because I need my stripper or my crimper to be able to pass down over it. So first thing I need is a little pokety tool. So inside here, see those little windows? If you press on that, and you do it right, the whole thing will slide right out. So I'm just going to take them all out right now. You want to push on the back edge. You can see where I'm pointing towards the back. Have a grip on the wire with your hand. Press and then pull, and that'll come right out. So you want to grip the wire with your fingers back here like that, and then pinch the connector like this. There's kind of a Vulcan mind pinch you got to do here to do this right. And you want to apply a little bit of pull, just a little bit, a few ounces, and then press down on it. And then if you pull a little bit more, you'll feel it slide right out. It's knacky, but once you've done it a couple times, it's really easy to do. Okay, so there's all 5 of our plugs. Save this, you'll need it. All right, we were starting with red, I believe. So now this is a lot easier because I can just slip my crimpers right on here. Drop my red connector on. Grab my red wire. Yep, it'll fit in this size of connector, and we're using the whites. And then crimp it down. Nice and tight. And now that little connector will slide right through there. Tug test, and we're good. So all I gotta do is do that 5 more times. So I'm gonna, or 3 more times. 3! If it hits 2, sell. All right, so, because we've only got 4 wires in total, we're ignoring the green. And we don't even have to put green back in the plug. So I'm gonna cut off 3 more connectors on here. Okay, so I'm going to work from this end of the cable because it's the bigger of the 2 and it's stiffer when I need it to hold it on the things. So I'm going to slide that down over my wire like that, and you can see the thing sticking out, and then we're going to trim that off where we want it because I don't want to have flyers hanging out the end of my wire. And then we're going to grab the black wire over here, and we're going to hold that up next to it. And then I'm going to bring it forward just a little bit, just a couple millimeters, because I want that to be a little shorter on this end than it is on the other end. I've still got plenty of engagement for the crimp connection. I just want to make sure that I don't have any hanging out, because that makes it ugly. Then put your crimpers over it. Get everything lined up just so. Hold your breath. And then crimp it. Whew! There you go. Finished crimp. And now I gotta do that 2 more times. So red goes to red, black to black, white to white. Yellow is gonna be our oddball. Everything else just matches to the same color. So get your crimpers in position. Grab your ferrule. Put your second wire in there. And everything is so tiny, this is really easy to fit both in the ferrule. Crimp it down tight. And then just drop it right through. Be careful not to snag it on your plug. And there's white all done. So we only got one more. It's just tedious. It's fussy, it's time consuming, but you can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. I am no rocket surgeon. Okay, so that's off. Grab our brown. Now remember, this one's the weird one. We're putting yellow to brown. I'll pull that back a little bit. I want it shorter, but not crazy shorter. Okay. So now we got all our lengths trimmed. I'm gonna drop my crimpers down over it. And if you touch the dies on your way through, you want to make sure you give that a little twist again, because it happens. If that bumps anything, the end's going to splay out, and you want to be careful not to do that. Like, it's okay to bump it, just pay close attention if you do so that you can straighten the end out again. Because if there's even the slightest bit of frayed end in there, you'll play hell getting that connector back on there right, the way you want it. Okay, everything's lined up. Hold your breath. Give it a good squeeze. Now, I'm usually hitting these twice because they're so tiny. I just want to make sure I got all the engagement I can get. And now, there's 4. Now I got a little tiny flyer sticking out the end of that, and I'm going to be fine with that. What you want to make sure, as you look at one of these, we'll pick red because it's festive. What you really care about is that your crimp connector doesn't crimp over insulation on the ends. It wouldn't really affect this unless you had a lot of it going far in there. So you want to have the insulation stop right at the edge of the connector, bare wire in there, and then the insulation starts for the other wire. But that's what you're looking at there is pretty much a textbook perfect connector. Now what I'm going to do is give each one of them a little tug test. And don't yank on it, but just give a little tug, make sure everything's cool. So now we need 4 pieces of heat shrink, preferably in black, red, yellow or brown, if you got it, and white. So let's see what we got for colors. I can move that out of the way. Now we don't even need the green. So I got to go really tiny with my heat shrink though. Let's see if this size will fit. I got a piece of white here. Might be too tiny. It'll fit the wire, but it won't. Oh, no, I got it. It went over the plug. You get points for neatness. All right, let's see if we can get it over this one. I'm checking it. I have my hair thin. Now, you can see why I'm fighting this, because that's the tube and that's the fitting. So getting it in there is a real pain in the ass, but I'm gonna try it. Oh, this one's going way easier. Way easier. Oh, I like red. Red was as easy as white. The other two were hell, but red and white were easy. Okay. So we got that on there, and then we'll just shrink that down. And you'll get to see how tight this shrinks down. Okay, and then we'll do white as our last one. There you go. Cool. Give them all one little last pass together. Everybody's cool. Make sure they're all nice and straight while they're still hot and soft. Because once the heat shrink cools down, that's the shape it's going to want to hold forever. It has a very long memory. Like you can still bend it, but not nearly as easily as you can when it's hot and pliable. All right. So that's that. We've got our extensions on. Now all we got to do is put our cable back together. As you look around the connector, you'll see a lot of little shiny folded metal pieces. You got to know which shiny folded metal piece you want to engage on here. So hold this up next to your plug. Now you can see where the window is, so that's going to tell you where your little key is. And as you roll it around, the key will become very obvious. It's easy to see. See that little wing kicking out to the back? That's our key. So we're going to just come in under it and just give it the tiniest little kick. Okay, it's not a lot, don't overdo it, but that little wing right there, you want to just give it a little kick, and then it'll grab right for the next time you put this in. Had to check and make sure I had the right color. And then you just slide it in, and it'll just pop right in there, and it goes all the way in, and this is easy. If this is a really hard step on this, you're probably doing something wrong. I remember when I learned how to do this, I definitely had some issues with this type of connector with the little spring key. So we're skipping green and then going straight to black. And when it's right, it'll just click right in. You'll feel it. So there's my finished plug. missing green because I had to take the green out because I had to get all the wires off the plug anyway. And there's no sense in putting the green wire back on there because the other end wouldn't connect to anything anyway. So now you have a custom made plug that you can insert right into your encoder. So we'll bring this right on over here, and that's where your plug goes. It'll only plug in one way, so you can't screw it up. You'll have brown on top, black on the bottom, and no green on scene. All right, now our final step is to mark the wire in any way you like. I like labels, but I'm just cool like that. So I'm gonna mark that there. And that lets me know that this is the J3 encoder. So there you go. That's your finish extension. It's beautiful, it's lovely. We're gonna do a lot more with it in upcoming videos. But for today, that's our fair bit of progress. It was a bit of work getting all that in there, but we made it. We did it together, and we're starting to get quite the set of cables coming off of this, and that's only half the motors. We're only up to 3 motors, 3 encoders. There's still 3 more to go. It's gonna be cool. You guys have fun. Thank you for watching. If you have questions on this, if you need answers, if you need help and stuff, Chris Annan designed and built this robot. He released it as a kit. You can get all the information you want in the forums at Annan Robotics, and you can find all kinds of information and live real-time help. If you get into the Discord, the link is below in the description to get into my Discord, and there's a bunch of smart, nerdy dudes hanging out there, and we're happy to hang out and talk about robots and electronics and all kinds of stuff anytime you want. You guys have fun, as always. I'll see you next time.